A lot of us feel very uncomfortable with asking questions at the end of the interviews. But I really like asking questions from my potential employers because I think that's a great chance for me to get to know the other side. So the questions that I usually ask here are specific to the particular company or the product that I'll be managing. And here are some of the questions that I like to ask, as it gives me a really good perspective on the company culture, the challenges it's facing, the product development process, and all the things that I need to know to decide if this is the right position for me. One question that you can literally ask in every interview and repeat it is, what do you think should be the priorities of the product manager that will be hired for this role? Or you can ask, what are some of the biggest things that you think the new PM that is going to be hired should focus on for this role? And this question applies better, to be honest, to companies that are not Google and Facebook, where you're hired first and then the company decide what you're going to have. So if you're interviewing for like Google or Facebook, perhaps you can't ask these kinds of questions here, but there are other questions that I can give you as an example for you to ask. Another question that I like to ask is, what do you see are the challenges for company X in the next few years? Or what would you like to see the company do that it's not doing right now? Or what do you think should be the company X's priorities over the next few years? Notice that this is kind of similar to the first questions that I was suggesting earlier around like what are the biggest challenges with the product, but this question is a little bit different in the sense that it's focusing more on the company rather than the product or the particular role. And you can ask these questions literally from everybody that you're interviewing. So that makes it easier for you to always have questions in your pocket if you're meeting multiple people in one day. Another type of question you can ask is about the product. And this again applies to cases where you're being hired for a specific role. But if you know the product really well, you can ask questions that are specific to the product. This is really important, especially if the question is a tough one to answer and helps you understand where the company is going or where the company thinks the product should be going. And I would suggest asking this question only if you have a really good understanding of the product and think that the answer helps you better understand the product and the product roadmap. Otherwise, don't ask simple questions about the product. It might be too obvious that you're just trying to ask a question which might not impress the interviewer that much. Finally, it's good to ask questions around the product development process, given that you'll be developing the products and you want to make sure that their product development process makes sense to you and resonates with you. So your question here can be open-ended again, something along the lines of, what's your product development process like? Or how do you decide what to build? Or how do you decide your priorities? Or how are your resources allocated? Notice that these are so many questions that you can ask from literally everybody that walks into the room. Maybe not the, what is your product development process like? Because once you know that, you don't want to really repeat that question. I hope you found this lesson valuable. Remember that at the end of the interview is a really great chance for you to learn the other company really well and use it to your advantage and ask questions that help you decide whether or not it's the right fit for you.